Apple quietly killed off 3D Touch with the new iPhones and replaced it with a haptic system. The newest generation of iPhones has phased out Apple's 3D Touch feature. iPhone 11 and its Pro counterparts will use Haptic Touch first unveiled last year. A switch will do away with the pressure-sensitive commands in previous models. Apple has quietly replaced the pressure-sensitive command feature, 3D Touch, in its next round of iPhones. In a major event this week, Apple announced its next generation of smartphone, the iPhone 11 and iPhone 11 Pro. While the phones added several new bells and whistles, one feature was conspicuously absent from the new device: 3D Touch, a display technology that allowed users to initiate different commands depending on the amount of pressure they use to click objects on their phone. Apple's 3D Touch has been phased out with a current crop of iPhones that favors a haptic system without pressure-sensitive commands. Instead of 3D Touch, the company has opted to go with the newer Haptic Touch feature first unveiled in 2018 for all of its new devices, spelling out an unofficial end to the technology. Though substantially similar, MacRumors notes that the Haptic Touch has some key differences compared to its predecessor. Namely, Haptic Touch is not pressure-sensitive like the former 3D technology and is activated by a long screen press instead of a firm one. This correlates to slightly less nuance for users since, unlike 3D Touch, the new haptic system will no longer be able to take advantage of multiple levels of functionality. Previously, peek and pop gestures allowed users to initiate different pressure-dependent commands not possible through the haptic system. It's unclear exactly how Apple's newest iOS 13 will utilize the now standard Haptic Touch system, but according to Apple, the technology is being positioned as means to do things faster, like take selfies without launching the camera app. Already, Apple has introduced a few new applications for Haptic Touch in its fairly recent iOS 12.1.1, including the ability to interact with notifications on an iPhone lock screen. Users can use the feature to bypass having to unlock their phone for certain things like playing a podcast or viewing a notification on social media. Apple killed off 3D Touch with the iPhone 11, iPhone 11 Pro. When comparing the specs of the iPhone 11, iPhone 11 Pro, and iPhone 11 Pro Max, I noticed 3D Touch has officially been replaced with Haptic Touch. When Apple launched the iPhone 6 in 2015, it did so with a new feature called 3D Touch. Using 3D Touch was simple. You could press on your iPhone's screen and it would trigger pop-ups or open apps. For example, you could press lightly on a link someone sent you in a text message to display a preview of that web page. If you pressed harder, the link would fully open in Safari. Apple referred to the feature as peek and pop. The problem was, 3D Touch actions weren't very easy to discover. With the launch of the iPhone XR last year, Apple removed 3D Touch and replaced it with Haptic Touch. The iPhone XS and XS Max, however, still had 3D Touch. The two features are essentially the same, with Haptic Touch requiring a long press to bring up contextual menus and options. The implementation was lacking at first, but over time Apple added more areas within iOS 12 where Haptic Touch worked. During the beta process for iOS 13, it was apparent that 3D Touch was on its way out. Long presses took priority over 3D Touch actions for things like moving or deleting apps on the home screen. With the launch of the iPhone 11, 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max, alongside the release of iOS 13, Apple is going all in on Haptic Touch. And while I'll miss 3D Touch, I'm just happy that Apple didn't get rid of the feature entirely.